You're listening to the Breakaway Wealth Podcast, the show that helps you build wealth faster, think outside the box, and break out of the herd. Here's your host, Jim Oliver.
Welcome back, Breakaway Wealth. I'm your host, Jim Oliver, and with me today, Chris Prefontaine. Welcome, Chris.
Thanks, Jim. Glad to be here.
Hey, Chris, so I know you're up in Rhode Island, and what's the weather like up in Rhode Island this time of the year?
Sticky. Muggy and sticky. I don't mind it. My wife just stresses over it.
I live in Florida, so I'm used to muggy and sticky. The only thing that's been weird down here is our rain. Normally it rains at 4 or 5, so we can play golf at noon. The old people don't like to play golf in the afternoon because it's too hot, so we can get around fast. But it's been raining at like 2 o'clock, so that's no
screws you all up.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Chris. Introduce yourself to the audience real quick, and then let's dive in.
Yeah, I'm founder and chairman at Smart Real Estate Coach. I will fast forward 34 years here in about 60 seconds. So I've been in real estate 34 years. After the '08 crash, I was forced to, I got crushed. So I was forced to kind of re-engineer everything. And re-engineer for me was don't sign personally on loans again. You know, I kind of set up rules. Don't sign personally on bank loans ever. Don't use gobs of cash, and don't ever operate without a coach or some kind of a system in place to support. Because twice in my life, in my career, I had major headaches, and I look back, Jim, and I went, "Oh wow, these are when I didn't have a coach those times. I didn't dawn on me till after I got crushed." So those are kind of the rules I set up, and then organically, I started buying my own stuff, but organically, we started getting demand for coaching. And now we're in 80 markets because we do deals with students. We don't just go, here's the stuff, you buy it and, go off on your own. We actually participate in the deals, interactive learning. So it's pretty cool.
No, I love that. And when we talked last time, Chris, we talked a little bit about that, but I want to go back to the basics because, I was kind of inspired a couple of weeks ago from a client of ours, and this person, they liquidated their 401k. And what's the first thing that somebody in the audience hears is taxes and penalties, right?
Yeah.
Not if you do it right. Okay, so that's number one. Number two is he got around people that were doing what he wanted to do, right? So he took 300 grand from a 401k, and in 3 to 5 years, I can't remember now exactly, it doesn't really matter, is he has 500 mobile home pads and 150 doors,
Sweet.
Right? Now, that's in a few years where that money was going to be dead and stagnant. So let's go back to, I don't know anything about real estate. What do I do? But I want to get into it, right? My dental hygienist the other day on Monday, she says, Jim, this is exactly what I want to do. But what do I do?
Yeah. Let me say this very broad and generic, and then we can talk creative if we want. Creative real estate, which is my bias right now, obviously, for the last decade plus. But let me say this to all the listeners, broad. One, find a niche, because you're talking about how do I get started, right? Find a niche that you can get behind. Here's what I mean by that. There's different personalities, I'll call it, in different niches, right? Some people like to sit behind a computer and flip plan, and get great. Some people like to do what we do. It kind of creates a win-win-win. Other people love grabbing the properties at 60 cents on the dollar. I think it's a little predatory, but some people like that. So there's no wrong answer. There's a lot of cool niches, but find one. Okay, that's one. Two, there's only 3 steps. Two, find someone that, sort of like you just alluded to, is doing what you want to do, already did it. And when I say find someone, caveats there though, like you and I both know people that have wrecked marriages, kids, relationships over becoming successful. So I'm not saying find someone that, barring everything, they wrecked everything and they were successful. I'm saying find someone you can relate to, morally, ethically, everything. You can get behind it. Inside that niche, right? And that has been through economic cycles. Because I don't care who you are, where you are, what market you're in, what price range you're in. There's going to be a market cycle, and it's going to constantly change for you. So that's 2. 3 is, this is the toughie, put the blinders on for 3 to 7 years. There are just way too many shiny objects in real estate, and they're all great, but there's too many shiny objects. So we do what we call drilling for water. We go drilling wells, and we never stay long enough to get water. Like, this is what happens in real estate. And then people say, oh, it must be me. No, it's not you. Every niche is great. Every niche will work for you if you just give it the time it deserves. And the reason I say 3 to 7, then I'll let you build this apart if you want, is I used to say 3. And I had Brian Tracy on my podcast, and he was like 82 at the time. It was during COVID. I said 3, what do you think of that? And he said, he challenged it. He's the only guest that ever challenged it. He said, no, not enough time. 7 years. He said, Chris, I've been broke, I've been wealthy. You need 7 years because you're going to suck for 2 or 3, then you're going to be adequate, and then you're going to have your breakthrough. I'm like, that's cool. So in hindsight, it is closer to 5 to 7 years for everyone. So that's the hard part, Jim, because people go, yeah, I've been at this for 2 years and I didn't make $1 million. Well, of course not, right? So anyway, that's my broad answer.
No, and I really love that, because there's a couple of things that with all 3 of the things, but that last part, it's funny because one of my mentors, Nelson Nash, with Infinite Banking, he would say, hey, it takes a business this long to turn a profit, and so this will too. But our world moves a little faster than Nelson graduated from this world in 2019. I think he was 88 or 89. So he, I think the world turns a little faster, and I'm not disagreeing with Brian Tracy or Nelson Nash, but I think that 3 to 5 years, I think that's just my observation of what I see out there happening right now. But you said something, Tony, I had a guy the other day say, hey, I was going to send my staff to this Tony Robbins thing in Miami. You know how much he gets for like a 2 or 3 day event? I was like, 10 or 12 grand, something. He goes, yeah. And I said, what's the purpose, right? What would you, because the way that I look at it is he wants to kind of free his staff. They want to learn about investing in real estate, buying businesses, something, like you said, find your niche, right?
Yeah.
And I said, well, why don't you just hire him a coach for a year? It costs you a little bit more than that, or depending on the level that you're doing. But that's somebody that's not going to just get them pumped up for 3 days, because Tony Robbins' stuff is amazing. But how many people actually do it and then are held accountable?
Correct.
That's where, way back to the 80s, you'd go to these meetings and you'd get motivated. And I remember our number one producer in our office said, I don't believe in motivation. All you can do is create an atmosphere where I want to motivate myself, and I have unlimited commissions available. And this is when I was a financial planner. Excuse me. And this guy was making a ton of money. It was like, oh, there's no limit on how much money I can make. I'm motivated, right?
Yeah.
And so maybe talk about, how do you find that coach that makes sense for you? Because one person, Woody Hayes, is going to he's going to make you run through a wall. Now I probably aged myself there with the Woody Hayes reference. And then somebody else like John Wooden, even aged myself again, who would never raise his voice.
Yeah.
Some players do better with different styles of coaches. So, like, how do you find that person, or how do you guys decide if somebody's right for you?
Yeah, it's funny you say that. Let me tell you a quick 30-second story. So I just started a new book. Cameron Haynes wrote it. I think it's called Undeniable. But when you said the different styles of coaches, so I'm going, he has a podcast. Oh, cool. Maybe I'll get on his podcast. And then I start to do his podcast. You got to do his run, lift, shoot. He runs like 100 miles with the guests, and then I go, it killed me. Anyway, wrong podcast for me. All right, coaches. Here's what we do. So personally, in business, with our team, we go, okay, in your department, what next year, what do you think you'd need for coaching or mentoring? And then we go in trimesters, but for this trimester, what is your personal goal? Like what goal to be coached or learn? And so as a company, we said in 17, best way is to give you an example. We said in 17, all right, great. We've been grinding out. We can hit $1 million. I don't want to water it down, but anyone listening can hit $1 million by working more, follow up more, stay up later, right? You can do that. But to go past that, it's a whole different world. So we said, we better find someone, because we're just grinding this out. And in 17, we asked people like you, we asked some great podcast hosts, we said, who's coaching like to scale a biz? And we interviewed 3 people. We ended up landing with elite entrepreneurs, and we've been with them since. They're responsible for bringing us from 1 million to 5 million and everything else in between for culture and everything else. So, invaluable. So to answer your question, it's just fill that gap. And then how do you find them? Ask around, number one. Number two, the internet, right?
Yeah.
I had David Nurse on my podcast, and he coaches like $10 million basketball players one-on-one, right? These guys that are very wealthy come out of college. And he goes, Chris, we just go online. Literally said this on my show. We go online, we find the skill set that we're trying to model after, or mindset for this particular basketball player, and then we do model after it. And he holds them accountable and all that. So my point is, it's not hard to find anyone anymore. And I think people are afraid to read a good book and reach out to someone, read hear a good podcast and reach out to someone. That's how I've met a lot of people. Read a book, sincerely comment and say, I want to meet you. And they're thrilled. I don't get a lot of those calls, and I have 4 best-selling books. So reach out to people that you don't be afraid to. They'd be thrilled to talk to you. I don't know if that nailed your question, but
No, it does. Chris, it's funny. Somebody taught me a long time ago, when you're reading a book, you take a blank pad and you write down questions, right? And then when you get done with the book, you go back to your questions and you cross out all the ones that were answered. But the ones that remain, you reach out to the author and ask them the question, right?
Bingo.
Now, every time that I've done that, I mean, Bob Berg is a perfect example
Yep.
with The Go-Giver. He
Yep.
reached out to me. We started talking, and like he explained the book. I understand that book better than 99.9% of the people that read it because I asked those questions. So I think when I look for a coach, because I've done it before and I feel like I'm coaching the person that's supposed to be coaching me, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And I don't like that. Like, I'm not here to coach you. You're
Come
coaching
real
me.
quick. Yeah.
And but it's you can't expect, I'm single, so I couldn't expect to go on one date and go, man, I found it. Here she is, the girl for me for the rest of my life. It's just not how it works, right? You go out with one, you ask them questions, you say, okay, this is a good fit. We'll try this. Nope, that didn't work. And
100%.
it's trial and error, because when you get the right one and you're married for 30, 40 years or whatever, then it's worth it, right? But you wouldn't just, I guess some people, we met in 4th grade and that, that just.
Well, that's similar to me, but that's another story.
I like that, man. I'm always envious of that. I always say, how the heck did that happen? But okay, so let's go back to getting into real estate. And I think that there's this noise out there, even right now, right? What do you hear out there right now? Oh, interest rates are too high and the market's up and the market's going to crash. And if you listen to that noise, Chris, how many people have you ever seen that listen to any of that and have built a huge real estate portfolio?
Actually, just you saying the word huge is anyone that builds something huge usually is going against the grain, right? Yeah. Here's my comment. I don't mean to poo-poo anyone with this comment, but it's a fact of life. Is the world full of people, generally speaking, that every single day get up, are disciplined, do what it takes, do what other people won't, no matter how hard it gets to accomplish all their goals? No, it's just not, right? So let's just say it's 95% of society won't. So if that's the case, you pick a number. I don't care if you use 80, right? But you pick a number. But the fact is, if all of them are going in one direction, do you really want to be going in that direction? So when the media is screaming about the market and the realtors are dropping out of their business, great, then run towards it. That's exactly, I've said this for years. I remember being on a stationary bike back in the 90s before I sold my brokerage. I sold it to Coldwell Banker in 2000. And my wife came downstairs, this just popped in my head and said, hey, what do you think? Because the commission structures were changing. This stuff's been going on forever. And I said, perfect. She said, why? I said, because all the people that aren't productive, they're just kind of hanging out in real estate, they're going to get out. And now we have less competition. And I feel that way about the investing world. Definitely, I'm in creative, but in the investing world in general. So the short answer is go the opposite direction. It's been proven. Don't go where the herd's going.
I totally agree with that. And it's funny because the more you educate yourself about any subject, the more that you realize that the majority has never been right about anything, and you can see the opportunities in the market. But, I like when I think of coaching, I'll give you a great example that's recent for me, is my trainer has been gone for 2 weeks. And so then I'm leaving for a golf tournament tomorrow. And then, so I'm not going to see her for 3 weeks. Right. And I normally get up at 4:30, work out at 5, and it works out perfect for me. I've been getting up at 5:45. I don't have that appointment with her. I'm still working out, but I've lost an hour and 15 minutes of my day given just, and I'm still working out. And somebody'd say, well, you're disciplined, you're working out, you're eating right, you're doing all this stuff. But having that accountability, and then I'm not doing the same workout, because sometimes I'll think, well, why is she having me do this glute thing, right? And so I'm doing back to when I was in my 20s, I'm doing presses, I'm doing pull downs, I'm doing all the stuff that I like to do. So talk about that just a little bit of the discipline and the accountability and the having people do things they're uncomfortable with to get results.
Yeah, it's key. Everything you described is key. And by the way, I have a similar schedule to you, so I appreciate that. Here's what we do. I always like real stories instead of theory. So in our ecosphere, me personally, I coach some of the higher level people, meaning they're the most committed, they pay the most, frankly, to be proud of it. And that's what I like working with. Now, what do? I have them on a few things. See if this nails your topic. One, they are doing a nightly accountability voice text to me. I don't want to text. I want to hear their voice. I want to hear their energy. I want to see if they're down, up, shitty day, good day. So that's number one. They have to do that. If they miss 3 in a row, they're out because I can't. I don't have time for it. I want committed. And frankly, they don't miss. They have to post nightly in the Slack group that they're in. So now you got public accountability with me. And then they're going to record their calls and send those to me. And they're going to do that 2 or 3 times a week. These are all just tiny, stackable minute steps that translate into being way different, way better than, and way more productive, way more profitable than everyone else. So it's actually required in my program. I ask permission at the beginning to hold them accountable. And I expect that with my coach. So my coach will do the exact same thing. When I come to the call, I better have all my list. It's not like I'm going to go to a seminar. Like he needs to know where I am, why, and what's next, right? So it's a give and take relationship. So I think it's everything. We came up with a power of one daily discipline, simple sheet, nothing fancy online, left-hand column of the paper, all the things you know that if you did those daily, forget a year. If you did those daily, you would hit your goals. If you could get them all done, you would hit your goals. Just win each day. And then it's 1 through 31 across the top. It's self-accountability. You got to check the box each night. I tell you, it's pretty powerful because in addition to all the other accountability, you got to check the box before you leave your desk and go, did that? Oh shit, didn't do that. It's not a buffet. You got to nail them all and you got to do it daily. So
I love it. It's funny because, I was just talking to somebody the other day, and this is a friend of mine. He was about 300 pounds. He's about 245, 250 pounds now. And he's like, Jim, I'm taking the same peptides that you're taking. I'm doing this, I'm going to this hormone doctor. Like I'm doing all the same things that you're doing. And I said, I've been doing it for 5 years. And to your point earlier, right? And I said, so why would you think you would have the same results in 6 months as I did in 5 years? So you got work to do. Yeah. But people want that instant gratification, right? They want to get rich quick. So they chase things, they make stupid decisions. I mean, I've seen it forever. You talked about 2008. How many guys did you know that had no talent or ability or really anything making $500,000 or $1 million as a mortgage broker right before that? A ton.
Yeah.
All you had to say is refinance and get your money out.
Yeah.
Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And so I love coaching because I coached baseball, football, and wrestling for 15 years. And if they pay me $3 million a year to do that in high school, I would still be there coaching. Yeah. But you probably know they don't pay you really anything.
Yeah, not gonna.
And so like coaching to me, showing somebody that you can do something that you don't believe that you can do really, but you want to do it, right? Whether that's get in shape and have abs at 60 or build a real estate portfolio to where you don't go to work, right? Like people still don't buy into that. So let's just break it back down to that. You said something earlier. So like what I like to say is other people's time, other people's money equals freedom, right? And I would actually add one when you own a business. Other people's time, other people's money, other people's effort equals freedom. Yep. But talk about why is it hard for somebody to think that they can't like just let their assets provide their cash flow and they don't have to go to work?
I'm going to go with, I really, really, really think this is that scenario or real estate or anything else. And it's the mindset. Now, it's easy for me to say that, but how do we fix it? Get around people that are doing it. You said it earlier, but so sure. I know I'm circling the wagons here, but look, if you hang out, okay, if you're outside of that, right, and you just been grinding it out, and you got a job, and I'm not talking real estate, I'm talking in general, and you're not around it, you don't think it's possible for you. Not me, not my market. Everybody's lucky. Everybody's in a bet. No, it's not. It's just you're not in the right spot. Proximity matters. Let me say it this way: proximity matters. Proximity meaning around the certain people. So we host a little boot camp. People come in who have conventional properties. This has happened almost every 6 weeks. They'll go on the phone to me. I don't know, Chris. Like, I don't know what you guys are going to tell me anything different. I've been in real estate. One guy this morning said 50 years, more than me. 50. I said, well, Jim, let me tell you something. I will promise you that you'll see something different when you're in the company of people doing creative. And if you don't feel that, I'll give you a plane ticket money. Like, that's how sure I am, because they come in here and they go, oh, wow, this is mind boggling. Well, same with your situation you just outlined. Go pick 4 or 5 people that are just living off of their assets and hang out with them, and your light bulb will go off. Your brain will expand like a rubber band and never goes back to its original thing. You know, there's a cool Audible I just went through on this note, and I listen to it often. And it's about what you just said, living off the assets. And it's The Wealthy Gardener. I don't know if you've ever gone through that one.
Yeah.
It's just like, so I'm not saying you have to get around people all the time. You and I are talking coaching, and that could be perceived as, oh, these guys just want you to go to coaching. Well, how about you just immerse your brain in this stuff too? So an Audible or a book nonstop, so that you can immerse your brain in that stuff. That's what matters, because you've been doing it. If you're listening right now, you've been doing whatever you're doing for X years. You fill in the blank. And to Jim's point earlier, I don't care if it's working out or this mindset with assets, you're not going to change it in 3 months. It's going to take time. So I could go on and on. I hope that answered it.
No, excuse me. That's a great answer. You know, it's funny. The other day I was at a restaurant and it was my cheat day. And I looked around the people at this restaurant and I was like, everybody is overweight here. And then the next day I had my cheat day, and then Monday, and I have like a cheat meal. I don't have like a whole day where like back to body for life, or eat whatever you want for 12 hours. Like, I don't do that. But so the next day I go to the gym, and it's at the time of the day where a lot of serious, bodybuilders and bikini competitors and stuff are there. I don't know why I go there when the bikini competitors are there. No, just kidding. And I'm looking around, and there's a few people that are overweight, which, by the way, good for you. You're in the gym. I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
But there are some people that are ripped, and there are people that I'm like, I want to look like that. And I don't care if they're 35 years old. I can do it at 60. Like, that's my motivation. So I leave the gym and I'm motivated. I'm not going to stop by that restaurant on the way home and have a cheeseburger. I'm just not going to do it. Because I just saw the results of discipline and lifting and having a healthy lifestyle. So, that to me, you have to be in those groups. And so talk about your coaching, maybe like, I don't know if you could talk about like how somebody finds out about the different opportunities or how they engage you, but also like you said, there were like different levels. Because sometimes I think people go, oh, 10 or 12 grand for 3 days with Tony Robbins. I don't have 12 grand to do that. Or I don't have 12 grand to spend on that. So talk about the opportunities that you have, because one thing that I've seen and I look for, Chris, is consistency in message. And everything that I've seen from you guys is consistency in message. So I definitely want to promote, and I would encourage everyone to check Chris and his team out. And if it's right for you, great. If it's not right for you, then they probably know some other people that might be right for you. So go ahead.
Let me comment on the resourcefulness first, with people saying they don't have the money. Let me just comment on that first, and then I want to give everybody a gift. When I went to the crash, this is the best way to tell the story as usual. There was a mastermind I wanted to be part of. I knew these 8 people would change my brain. I knew I was in the dumps. I was in my head. I thought I wrecked it. I was my fault. I failed, blah, blah, blah. 4 years I was in my head. So I said, I got to find a way. I don't have credit. My credit's in the toilet. I don't have cash. I was in a 1-bedroom apartment. So I said, how the frick am I going to join this program? So I started calling around, and my logic was this, and this will work with anyone. If you don't have it, the fact is, if you knew beyond a shadow of a doubt, belief-wise, that if you did X, that group, whatever group, you could be profitable. If you knew that beyond a shadow of a doubt, you would do it. Everybody would agree with that. So if I said, here's $100, go find a $100 bill. And if you come back with it, I'm going to give you 100. You just doubled your money. You'd all do it, right? But so it's belief. So I called around, I don't know, 4 or 5 calls. I finally got an attorney friend that I went to Bentley College with in Boston. And I said, look, you fund this 25 grand. That's not a small number. You fund this 25 grand. I will give you a third of my profits until you are 100% return on your money. You get your money back plus 100%. So you're going to get $50,000 back. We did it. And the rest
Okay.
is history. Why? Because I said, I can do this. I got to do this because I needed a deal like I needed water. So just want to
Yeah.
address that resourcefulness. As far as us, let me give everybody a free gift. They can get the couple of the best-selling books. We'll ship them. It's not free gift, but put in shipping money. No, we'll ship it, our cost. wickedsmartbooks.com/breakaway. And then we'll honor that for your show. It doesn't matter. No time frame. Just go do it. I'm big on free. You can go to YouTube, punch in Smart Real Estate Coach. You can see 400 or 500 deals. Like, I want you to know that it's free and you find if it's for you, like Jim said. Now, in the levels, everyone has a different home. Like the gentleman I spoke to today, who's 50 years in business, I said, Jim, you will be bored at the group level. You're going to sit in the group class and go, yeah, I know this. I said, you need to work with me or one of the coaches. And so I'm just honest with people after I hear the scenario. So we have group coaching that's 12 weeks. They get to come in our office for free. Like, that's pretty cool. It's the best thing we've ever done. There's 3 of us in a room. We're doing live calls, making deals for them if they bring leads. If they don't, they watch and learn. And then there's one-on-one experiences where we revenue share with people all over the country. We're in 80 markets now, as I said earlier, and that's called associates. So these associates do what? We teach them how to find the lead. We teach them how to talk to the lead. We talk to them for them and with them until they can. So they get us as a crutch and credibility. And then we revenue share. And there's 3 different revenue share models depending on how aggressive they want to be. So we're in the deal for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years. You're never left alone. That's the missing link, I think, in the education space, Jim, because we are getting marketed to. When I started this, maybe 3 competitors. Now you go on social media. I don't, but I know social media is pounding us with get rich quick tomorrow in real estate. Well, that's not us, but we'll show you how to develop a skill set that you'll even buy your own house with it, right? You'll have huge success. Our deals run 45 grand to 350 grand per deal, every deal. They're not small deals over time. So anyway, that's the coaching group or one-on-one, depending on how aggressive you want to get, your resources, what your goals are. That comes in a strategy call. And I'm happy to talk to anyone from your show, just to mention you.
Awesome. I appreciate that very much. It's funny when you say that, because I always tell people with Create Tailwind and about IBC that I just had this lady on. She was around 60, right? And she's like, Jim, I don't know what I'm going to do with the money. And she said, my mom, she was in a mobile home park, and it had potholes, and there's jammed in there, and it was really expensive. And I said, then go buy it and make it better, right? Yeah. Like because she really wants to help people, and it really has this servant's heart. Well, you can do that. Like, learn about this, take over for the bad operators, buy it from the bad operators. Those are the ones that are for sale, by the way. Like really kind of change that mindset. But we'll kind of wrap it up as we go all the way back to what you said is, it's mindset. If you don't think that you can get in shape, you're not going to. Right. You're not going to do the things that you need to do to get in shape. You're not going to wake up at 4:30. You're not going to work out. You're not going to say, hey, it's 10:30. I'm kind of hungry. But you know what? Chick-fil-A is right around the corner. I'm going to go have a biscuit, sausage, egg thing. You're not, you will fail, but also, what are your goals? What are your vision? And I really love what you said about that early on. Because I always say to people, how much passive income do you want? And they always shoot low, I try to tell people, it's hard to spend, my lifestyle is just not that fancy, but it's hard to spend $1 million a year. And they go, whoa, $1 million a year. And I said, well, that's not as hard as you think to create $1 million of passive income a year.
Right. That's what I was saying earlier. Yeah.
Yeah. And if it took you 5 years, 7 years, compared to what? And this is the thing that I want you to kind of finish and have the final comment on, Chris, is compared to putting your money in a 401k, IRA, Wall Street, wait 20, 30, 40 years for the compound effect, and then live off of that money for the rest of your life and hope that you don't run out of money. So yeah, talk about that. How the peace of mind that you see from your clients who are building cash flow that's going up and up and up and up versus the saver that comes to you and thinks they have this precious nest egg that they don't want to, screw up.
Well, let me answer it with another story. And it also goes back to the resourcefulness. So I had a woman, Deb, who said, and I knew things were tight for her. She's a single mom. And she said, but Chris, I really want to make this work. I want to set an example for my daughters. Like, it was emotional. I knew her why was good and emotional. I'm like, okay, this is what I need or like to hear. And then she said, I have about, I think it was tiny, like maybe 50, 60,000 in an IRA doing Zippo. I said, Deb, there was a piece of that she could use to do some things we wanted to do. I said, Deb, cash it out, go create 10 deals next year, all worth 45 to 350 grand each. But there's going to be 10%. Did you hear what I just said? 10 deals that are going to bring you somewhere between, if it's 45, it's 450. If it's right, it's 3 million. So let's just say, Deb, conservatively, you create $500,000. Would that be better than you got right now in your IRA earning blank per year? Yes, she did it. So she was resourceful and she did it. And now she's in year 2. And the amount of deals, Jim, like the amount of leads, the amount of calls she gets me out with sellers is entirely different. Why? Because she's committed. You make that kind of move, you're like, this, I got to make work. So I think it's critical for people to do that. Once you're in like creative real estate, there's so many avenues to go. I teach residential, but you can buy office buildings, mobile parks. There's a woman that just does mobile parks, and she brought that up a few times. Using our method, just mobile parks. So you're not tied to asset classes. You can create massive passive income. And then, of course, it marries well with some of the stuff that you guys do. I've always said that with you. It marries great. So you can start going back and forth with ideas financially. So wealth-wise.
Especially when you can run things through infinite banking and you don't need the money. You just kind of let it build. And then that's when that 3 years really comes to be a possibility, because you're not consuming any of the money. But also, just when people talk about penalties and taxes, they're discounting depreciation, because I've seen people roll large 401ks and not pay any tax. And if I said to them, would you pay 10% penalty to get your money out of prison and then put it to work and recover in 18 months, 3 years, whatever, where that penalty doesn't really matter anymore? And they said, I would do that in 2 seconds. So now they just need somebody like you and your team to show them, here's the target. Because the thing you said, what I took away from her story, you gave her a target.
Yeah.
Now you go do this. Now, as soon as you did that, you changed her mindset. And she said, that's possible because Chris just told me to go do that.
Yep.
Right?
100%.
And so, so I love that. I love that. All right, Chris, what's the best advice anybody's ever given you?
It ties to everything I said, not surprisingly, that there's someone out there that's done what you want to do. Find them and don't deviate.
I agree. Find somebody who has what you want and do what they did, and then make it better. Take the best. Something I always say too is take the best, leave the rest. So if they made mistakes, if they did this, or if you're not going to find perfect mentors either. They're going to have flaws. If they drink 3 vodkas a night or 10 vodkas a night, don't do that.
Yeah.
Okay, don't go, oh, I'm not going to do what they do, because they like you could pick things out. I just use that one as an example, because that was one from me, not from me, but from a mentor I had that was early on. And in my 20-something-year-old brain, I said, well, I don't want to be like them.
Yeah.
That's not the part of them I want to be like. So, okay, last question, Chris. If God came down from heaven and only allowed you to retain the knowledge that you've received from one book, what would that book be?
There's just like thousands of mindset books I can mention. Instead, I'm gonna say Behind the Golden Arches. I don't want to say why I'm saying it. The McDonald's story, because in the book there are mindset pieces, there are struggles, there's real estate, there's business, there's everything, marriage. Like, if you haven't read that book, it goes through everything, and that's the best. If you say one book, that kind of puts a lot of books in one. Because I could name off, as you could, all these cool books that we've read over the years, but I think that one encapsulates a lot.
I love that. And one of the things that I love about it too is that person, Ray, he didn't start when he was like 20 some years old, right? Because I love to give people hope. And I hate that word actually, but I love to show people that they can do it.
Possible.
I shouldn't say hope, when they're 60 years old or 70 years old or 80 years old. You could build a real estate portfolio at 80 years old. And by the way, I always got to tie things back to health. One of my doctor's clients, he just got his latest DexaFit, and a DexaFit will tell you what your biological age is. This guy's in his 80s. I don't remember where in his 80s. Doesn't matter. his biological age is going down, and it's in his 40s, and it's lower than his son's. So if you think it's too late, it's not too late.
Awesome.
Right? It's never too late. And you can, I'm into, Chris, I'm 60, and I tell people, and I stole this from Dan Sullivan, but I say that I'm halfway, right? And, and I feel better at 60 than I did at 35. So
I feel the same. I'll be 60 in Feb. I'm right behind you, but I feel the same. And I said it to my wife. Yep.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, Chris, thank you so much for being on the show again. And we'll put all the contacts in there. We'll put the free gift that Chris was so graciously giving the audience. And I would just tell you that I've read Chris's stuff, and I normally say I don't vouch for people that come on, but I would vouch for Chris. He's got the track record. His team is professional, and you guys should at least check him out and see if him and his team can help you be independently free. And, Chris, so thank you so much again.
Thank you.
Chris, we wrap this up like we always do with the incredible words of Earl Nightingale and the strangest secret. Talk about mindset.
Here's the key to success and the key to failure. We become what we think about. Now let me say that again. We become what we think about.
Thanks for listening to the Breakaway Wealth Podcast. Be sure to subscribe to this show wherever you're listening so you never miss an episode. If you want to start increasing your wealth building ability right now, go to community.createtailwind.com to join our free online community and get access to free, in-depth training designed to help you build real, lasting wealth. See you next week.